The city buses in downtown Atlanta were always packed on weekday afternoons, and that day was no different. The air was heavy with humidity and the soft buzz of tired commuters trying to get home. Among the sea of passengers was 17-year-old Malik Jackson, a quiet black teen with headphones tucked over his ears and a worn backpack nestled between his feet. He had just finished his volunteer shift at the community center, where he helped younger kids with reading and homework. It was something he did every Tuesday, not for any reward, but because he liked helping. Still in his school uniform slightly, wrinkled khakis and a faded white shirt, Malik looked like just another face in the crowd. But he had no idea that this one ride home would change the course of his life. As the bus rolled to a stop, a rush of new passengers boarded, Malik shifted in his seat, glancing up briefly when he noticed someone struggling to get on. A white woman, visibly pregnant and clutching her belly with one hand while holding a grocery bag with the other, stepped on board. She looked exhausted, her face pale and strained, and no one moved. Not a single person offered her a seat. She scanned the rows, eyes tired, lips trembling, but she said nothing. Without hesitation, Malik stood up. He didn't overthink it. It was just something his mom had taught him. If someone needs help, you help them, period. He gently tapped her shoulder and offered his seat with a small smile. She looked at him, surprised, then her eyes welled up. She tried to protest softly. You don't have to, but Malik was already standing, already moving toward the back to stand with his backpack slung over his shoulder. The woman sat down slowly, murmuring, "Thank you," with a look that carried far more than simple gratitude. Something in her eyes lingered on Malik longer than expected, like she recognized something in him, kindness, maybe. Or maybe something deeper. The ride continued, and Malik leaned against the pole, pulling his headphones back over his ears, but not playing anything. He was thinking about how nobody else moved, about how the world seemed too rushed to notice things like kindness anymore. 20 minutes later, the bus approached the Midtown stop. The woman stood slowly, signaling she was about to get off. She walked up to Malik before stepping off the bus, reaching into her purse and pressing a folded note into his hand. "Please read this when you're alone," she said softly, and then she was gone, disappearing into the crowd as quickly as she had arrived. Malik blinked, caught off guard. A note? From a stranger? He looked down at the paper in his hand, puzzled, and almost laughed. Maybe it was just a thank you. Maybe it was weird. Maybe it was nothing at all. But something told him it was something. He didn't open it right. Away. Instead, he tucked it into his backpack and stepped off the bus 2 stops later. The sky was turning shades of orange and pink, the warm air brushing against his face as he walked the short distance home. His neighborhood was quiet, familiar, the cracked sidewalks, the kids riding bikes, the smell of someone cooking dinner nearby. He passed old Mr. Collins watering his yard and nodded politely. Everything looked the same, but Malik couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. Inside his room, Malik dropped his bag and sat on the edge of his bed. He hesitated for a moment before reaching into the side pocket and pulling out the note. The paper was neatly folded, the handwriting on the outside elegant cursive. To the young man who gave up his seat, he paused. Something about it made his heart beat faster. He unfolded the paper carefully, unsure what to expect. But as he read the first few lines, his breath caught. He read the first sentence again, just to be sure. And then again, his hands trembled slightly. This wasn't just a thank you note. It was something else, something deeper, something that made his throat go dry. The note began with the words, "You don't know me, but I know who you are. I've been waiting for the day I'd meet you." Malik's eyebrows drew together, confusion twisting in his chest. What was this? Some kind of prank? He kept reading. "You helped me today in a way you can't even imagine. But you've helped people before, and I've been watching. Not in a creepy way, I promise, but in a very real, very serious way. You see, someone you helped last year is the reason I'm still alive." Malik's heart thudded hard. What was she talking about? That day at the soup kitchen last winter. The man you spoke to, the one everyone avoided. He was my brother. He had lost everything, his job, his home, his will to live. You sat with him, You told him he mattered? He told me about you later. You saved him, even though you didn't know it. Malik stared at the paper, trying to remember. He did remember sitting with a homeless man, offering him a sandwich and a long talk. He hadn't thought much about it after, it was just a moment in a sea of moments, but the letter went on because of that. He got help. He's back on his feet now, and today you helped me. I needed a reminder that good people still exist. I needed to know my child was coming into a world that had people like you in it. His chest ached. It was too much to take in at once. But there was more, so I'm giving you something in return. It's not much, but I think it might mean something. I left a package for you at the community center, asked Miss Elaine. No, the note ended with a name. Just a first name. Claire. Malik sat there in silence, holding the letter like it was made of glass. He didn't know what to think. The world felt suddenly tilted. This wasn't just about giving up a seat on a bus. This was about something bigger, something connected. And someone out there had been watching him in ways he never imagined. The question swirled in his head. What package? What could possibly be in it? Why him? He wanted answers. But at the same time he felt something else, a strange mix of fear and excitement. Like standing at the edge of something big? Something he didn't fully understand yet. The sky outside had gone dark. Streetlights flickered on. And Malik stood slowly, clutching the letter, staring out his window at the quiet world below. Tomorrow. He'd go to the community center. Tomorrow. He'd find out what this woman meant. But for now, all he had was the weight of her words and the feeling that everything in his life was about to change. Malik barely slept that night. He kept replaying the letter in his mind, reading it over and over until he could hear the words without even looking at the paper. His mom noticed he was quiet during dinner, but she didn't push. She'd raised Malik to be thoughtful and patient, but she also knew when something was bothering him. Still, he just said he was tired from volunteering. She gave him that look, the one that said she didn't fully believe him, but would let it go for now. The next morning, he was up before his alarm. He showered, dressed, and grabbed his backpack like it was a normal school day, except today. School wasn't his destination. He told his mom he had something to check on at the community center, and she nodded. You doing okay? She asked gently, standing at the stove with her robe tied loose. Yeah, he said, forcing a smile. Just thinking about some stuff. The streets were still waking up when he stepped outside. The sky was pale gray, the air damp and heavy like it might rain. Malik walked briskly, his hands deep in his pockets, the letter tucked safely in the side of his bag. Every step closer to the center made his chest tighten. He wasn't sure what he expected to find, if anything. What kind of package could this woman possibly have left for him? Why the secrecy? Miss Elaine was behind the front desk when he arrived. She was in her 60s, warm and firm, with glasses that always seemed to slide down her nose. Malik had known her for years. She ran the community center like a tight ship, but she had a soft spot for the kids who showed up every day to help or learn. When she saw him walk in, she gave him a curious smile. You're early today, sweetheart, she said. Everything okay? Malik hesitated for a second, then reached into his bag and pulled out the letter. I got this from a woman yesterday, on the bus. She said you'd have something for me. Miss Elaine's smile faded slightly as she took the letter and scanned the first few lines. Her eyebrows lifted as she read, and for a long moment she didn't say anything. Then, very slowly, she nodded. Come with me. She led him through the main hallway and into a small office in the back. It was usually locked, but she had the key. Malik had never been inside before. The room smelled like old paper and cleaning supplies, and in the corner was a small shelf stacked with boxes. Miss Elaine walked over and picked one up from the second shelf. It was medium-sized, taped shut, and had Malik's name written across the top in black marker clear. Deliberate letters. She dropped this off yesterday afternoon, Miss Elaine said, placing the box gently on the desk. Didn't say much. Just that it was important. Malik stared at it, unsure whether to open it right then or wait until he was alone. Did she say why? Miss Elaine shook her head. only that she hoped you'd understand in time. He nodded slowly, hands resting on the box but not opening it yet. Do you know who she was? There was a pause. I didn't catch her full name, Miss Elaine said. But I think I've seen her before, once or twice. She asked a lot of questions about you last month. About me? Malik's voice cracked slightly. Nothing bad, she said quickly. She asked if you still volunteered here, if you liked books, if you were still thinking about going to college, seemed genuinely interested. I assumed she was some sort of counselor or mentor. I didn't press her. Malik's mind was spinning. Why would a stranger ask about him? Why had she been watching his life from a distance? And why did her note feel like more than just a thank you? He lifted the box in his arms and thanked Miss Elaine, who gave him a small squeeze on the shoulder. Before he left, let me know if you need anything, all right? She said softly. He nodded and walked out into the gray morning. Back at home, Malik shut his bedroom door and placed the box on his desk. He sat down, staring at it. His fingers hovered over the tape. Part of him wanted to rip it open immediately. The other part hesitated, almost afraid of what he might find inside. After a long breath, he carefully peeled away the tape and opened the flaps. Inside, there was a small stack of items. On top was a journal, leather-bound, old, with slightly worn edges. Beneath that, an envelope. It was thick. Malik picked it up and noticed it was heavy, like it held more than just paper. He placed the journal aside and opened the envelope. Inside were several folded documents and something else. A key. Malik's hands shook slightly as he unfolded the papers. The first was a letter, typed and signed at the bottom by someone named Claire Winslow. It began like the note she'd handed him on the bus, but it went deeper. Much deeper. She talked about a man named Daniel, her brother, who had spiraled after losing his job and home. He had disappeared for months, sleeping on benches, barely surviving. She had thought she'd lost him for good. But then one day, he called her. He told her about a K to black teen with a quiet voice and a gentle heart, who'd sat with him at a soup kitchen and treated him like a person. That boy reminded me that I'm still human, he had said. Claire had tracked down that soup kitchen. Then the center where Malik volunteered. She said she had been trying to find a way to thank him, but more than that, she wanted to do something meaningful in return. The letter ended with, "You gave my brother his life back. I want to give you something too. This key opens a place I think you'll want to see. When you're ready, follow the address written in the back of the journal." Malik blinked, staring at the key in his hand. It was small, silver, and had a number engraved into the side. 47. He opened the journal next. The first few pages were blank. Then he saw entries written in careful cursive Claire's handwriting. She had filled pages with thoughts, stories about her brother, things he'd gone through, things she'd gone through. Mixed in were messages meant directly for Malik: encouragement, life advice, even drawings. Some pages had quotes from books or notes about people she'd met who had inspired her. Then, at the very back, scrawled in bold letters, was the address. It wasn't anywhere Malik recognized. A small town about 45 minutes outside the city. Number. Explanation. Just the address and a post-it note attached with a final message. What you find there belongs to you now. Use it well. He sat in silence, journal on his lap, the letter on the desk, the key dangling from his fingers. What could possibly be waiting for him at that place? A house, a safe deposit box, something Claire left behind? And how could she trust someone she barely knew with something so mysterious? Malik didn't have the answers. Not yet, but he felt it deep down that whatever was waiting for him wasn't just a gift. It was a test. Malik didn't leave his room for hours after reading the letter and flipping through the journal. The air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were holding in secrets. He sat at his desk, staring at the small silver key and the address scribbled in the back of the journal. His mind was stuck between excitement and confusion. What exactly was Claire giving him? And why did it feel like more than just gratitude? Her note didn't feel like a thank you, it felt like a mission. That night at dinner, Malik picked at his food. His mom noticed again. "You sure you're okay?" she asked, her tone gentle but firm. Malik hesitated. He didn't want to lie. but he wasn't ready to tell the full truth. "Something happened yesterday. On the bus," he said. "I met someone. She gave me a letter. It kind of changed things." His mom raised her eyebrows. "Changed things how?" "She knew who I was." Sighed. "I helped her brother. She's been watching me through the community center, the soup kitchen, and she left something for me." His mom put down her fork. "Malik, are you in some kind of trouble?" "No, I don't think so, but it's weird. She gave me this journal and a key. Said it opened something that now belongs to me." A long silence fell between them. His mom looked tired but concerned. "You sure it's safe?" "I don't know," Malik admitted. "But I think I have to find out." She didn't argue. She just nodded slowly and said, "Be careful, and whatever it is, don't go alone." Malik promised he wouldn't, though he wasn't sure who he could even ask to go with him. By morning, the decision was made. He texted his best friend Jamal, the only person he trusted with something this strange. They met up after school in the park, sitting on a quiet bench under the shade of an old tree. Malik told him everything about the woman on the bus. The letter, the journal, the key, and the address. Jamal listened without interrupting, his usual goofiness replaced by quiet focus. When Malik finished, Jamal leaned back, rubbing his chin. "Dude, that sounds like something out of a movie," he said. "You sure this isn't some hidden camera prank?" "I thought that too," Malik said, "but it feels real. Too real." "So, what are we doing?" Malik looked at him. "We're going tomorrow. You in?" Jamal didn't hesitate, of course. They made the trip the next day. It took nearly an hour by train and another 15 minutes by foot. The small town was quiet, almost too quiet, like it had been forgotten. They followed the address. From the journal, ending up in front of a narrow brick building, tucked between an abandoned diner and a laundromat. It looked like a bookstore, or maybe it used to be. The windows were dusty, the paint on the door faded. A small brass number on the door read 47A. "This is it," Malik said, holding the key in his palm. He hesitated before unlocking the door. A part of him still wasn't sure what they were walking into. But when the door creaked open and they stepped inside, what they saw made both of them stop in their tracks. It wasn't just a room. It was a library. Or maybe a study. Shelves lined every wall, filled with books, journals, papers, and folders. A long wooden table sat in the middle, with an old reading lamp still plugged in. There were boxes stacked neatly in corners, some labeled with names, others with dates, and pinned to a large corkboard on the far wall were photographs, dozens of them. Most of them were pictures of people Malik didn't recognize, but right in the center was a photo of him. He walked toward it slowly. The picture showed him at the community center, kneeling next to a little girl he was helping with her math homework. It was taken from a distance, but it was clearly him. Jamal moved beside him, his eyes wide. "Dude, this is like some spy stuff." Malik felt a chill crawl down his spine. "Why would she have a picture of me here?" They looked around more. One box was labeled Youth Program Candidates. Inside were files, actual files with names, schools, grades, and photos. Jamal pulled one out. "These are kids from our area," he whispered. "Why does this lady have all this?" Then they found a small safe tucked beneath the desk. Malik used the same key to open it. Inside was another envelope, this one marked "Read this only when you're sure." He didn't open it. Not yet. As they stood there, both boys feeling more uneasy by the second, Malik noticed something else. A worn newspaper clipping pinned under the corkboard. It was yellowed with age. The headline read, "Local man survives suicide attempt to his stranger at soup kitchen." Malik read the article silently. It was about Claire's brother Daniel. It told the whole story, the spiral, the depression. The moment at the soup kitchen that made him decide not to end his life that day. The article didn't mention Malik by name, it just said, "A young volunteer." But it was clear who it meant. Malik's hands were sweating. All this time, he had no idea the things he'd done quietly were being remembered, recorded, used. But for what? That was the question that haunted him the whole way home. And that night, as he lay in bed with the journal open beside him, He couldn't help but wonder, was Claire part of something bigger? Something organized? Why was she tracking kids like him? And what did she mean when she said, "Use it well"? The tension didn't let up. It only grew stronger, especially when, just before midnight, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. There was no message, just a single image. It was a photo of him and Jamal, taken that afternoon. Outside the brick building. Someone was watching them. Asterisk. Moral of the story: small acts of kindness can create powerful, unseen ripples that change lives in ways we may never realize. What seems like a simple gesture, giving up a seat, offering a kind word, can return in unexpected ways, shaping futures, healing wounds, and connecting strangers across invisible threads of humanity. Always choose compassion, because you never know who's watching or how deeply it matters.